Oh, gentlemen, bit cold in Melbourne.
Yeah, nice jumper there, Flem.
The Prime Minister's 11, 1989. I just saw they announced it during the week. Peter Handscomb's captain and the FBC's own Peter Siddle's playing.
Sidzy at age 40.
41, I think.
A bit of experience 41. There.
But it is freezing, but, mate, still fits really well. I think Warney debuted in this one too when he looked like John Daly at that stage.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get a Guernsey in the President's 11. The Prime Minister's 11. I don't think you either did.
Wow. Didn't get a run.
That is amazing. Just straight into the test team. All right, let's get straight into this, boys.
Got him.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Fast Bowling Cartel podcast. My name is Damien Fleming, and I'm joined by a couple of Ashes fast bowling legends. The first man took 65 Ashes wickets, the man, Jason Dizzy Gillespie.
G'day, Flem. G'day, Pidge. Great to be here again. And, geez, this excitement for the Ashes, the build-up has just been so brilliant. And I think we're all just waiting for Friday. We just want this to start. We're so excited.
I'm excited. And joining us as always with the new ball, down breeze, 157 Ashes wickets. It's, of course, Pigeon, Glenn McGrath. Pidge, can you go through the 157 wickets now?
I could probably go through it. It might take sort of 4 or 5 minutes, so I might save that for another day. But good to see you, Flam. Diz, as usual, great to see you guys. And, yeah, looking forward to the Ashes. Still the ultimate for an Aussie cricketer. It's getting closer, heading over to Perth in a few days and hook in. So, yeah, a few things have been happening leading into that test, which we'll chat about today. But, yeah, can't wait.
Now, Pidgey, putting you on the spot, who was your first Ashes wicket and who was your 157th?
Ooh. Anyway, before we start that, Flem.
We've got to do the DK salute. You guys always forget.
You've got a memory like a sieve, Flem, like seriously. But yet when we see each other in person, that's the first thing.
Straight away. I should do it as soon as we come on, really. That's what we do. Can you remember your first and 157th?
Well, my first one, it took 2 test matches. My first Ashes test in at the Gabba.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone told me I have to bowl big outies, and I was bowling consistent outswingers, had no control. Finished the match with the figures of none for 120. Didn't play the next 3 games. I think you came in and replaced me, Flem, and then I think you tweaked your shoulder a bit and gave me the last test in Perth before we went off to the West Indies. So I think my first wicket might have been a bit of an average one. It might have been pro old Mike Atherton. Yeah, one of those short balls into the hip, down leg side. He just gloved it through the heels. So that was the first one. And the last one, old Jimmy Anderson, slower ball caught by Mike Hussey at mid-on. And that was my final wicket in Test cricket. So walked off the SCG, all done.
Your final ball too. So,
yeah, so
and
final
then
ball.
Warney
was bowling from the other end, and it was who was going to get their last wicket on their last ball in Test cricket. And unfortunately for Shano, I finally got one over in him and, got a wicket.
Did you get a speaking man for doing that? From the great man.
Well, Shane and I could get away with a lot more than a lot of other guys in the team. So
he was intimidated by you, Pidge. He was
intimidated.
And one other thing.
But we did walk off the ground, arm in arm, waving to the crowd. Yeah, a lot of special memories there still.
And for us older blokes, so you're younger, Diz, but that was the last time I ever went and have been in the test change rooms because it was yourself, Warney, and Justin Langer, Alfie. Yep. And Diz, they got us in there. I think it was right. You, me, and Gilly that were last to leave. Diz.
There's every chance of that happening. Yeah.
Just one little trivia on that last test of yourself and Warney, Pidge. Were you equal on test ducks? I think you were equal or close. And then what happened in that last test?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I got a duck in that last test or whether I was one in front of Shano, and Warney went out and nicked one. Massive big nick, big appeal, given not out, and then he scored a couple of runs before he got out. So I felt a little bit...
he could have got you.
Yeah, little let down there that Shano's got away with that last one. But, I hold the record, so I'm happy. It's probably not the best record. Most Test ducks won Australian batsmen, but that was before DRS, wasn't it?
Oh,
so, yeah. When you see the umpire give you out and they haven't even appealed yet, you know you're in trouble. So, but what can you do?
That would be interesting. Number 11 dismissals in the 20 years before DRS. How many, if you went upstairs, wouldn't have been out? The umps just want to get the innings over.
Because that's my thing. Yeah, you have two DRS referrals, and number 11 always gets one.
I love it. Love it. I love that.
Little bit more Ashes trivia before we get into the current series. Rick Finlay, the stats guru, tweeted out. It's always good to know where you get your information from. He said pairs making Australian Test debuts in the first test of an Ashes series. So we're assuming, and we're excited for both of these gentlemen, Jake Weatherald and Brendan Doggett. It was that the previous pair was 14 years before that in the 2010-11 series in Sydney. Usman Khawaja was one. Can you remember who the second debutant was in that test match?
No.
This would be good by you to get this.
Was it a spinner?
Hint?
Yeah, and quite tasty. Really good at the end of the day.
Michael Beer. Flemo. Too good from you, Flem. Too good.
Very good. Very good.
And the previous
up this.
And the previous pair to this, and there is a story behind this, 18 years earlier, 1993, I think in Manchester, it was the big man, the man we love, and we'll have to get him on, Brendan Julian, the best-looking cricketer ever, and Michael Slater. And, of course, the infamous story is Slats went and got a tattoo with his number on it because he thought it went in batting order. But, of course,
instead of alphabetical.
That's what batsmen bring to the table, isn't it?
Yeah. See, I think that's a bit harsh. I think it should go in batting order rather than alphabet.
Nah, I'm not with you. Completely disagree. Because keep it simple.
My T20 number is like something like 8 or 9, 7 or 8 or 9, not 11. And I'm disappointed with that. It could have been number 11.
So it's all about you, Pidge.
Well, I like number 11, so I would have liked to have had that.
Should it be done in retrospect in the game, who actually performs first in the game? So if you bowl first, you have become that player, or potentially take a catch for a batter, or if you open up like Slats would have and they batted first, well, you get that number.
Or if you go in as night watchman.
Yeah. No, I'm not having it, boys. Not having it. Alphabetical order for me all the way.
I reckon I'm an ideas guy. I didn't like that idea for myself in hindsight. Okay, boys, let's get back to a bit of fast execution. We are delighted to have SwyftX on board for us for the Ashes series. Who are they? They're a cryptocurrency exchange that actually makes sense. So batsmen might struggle with this one. Fast sign-up process, super low fees. We love that they're fast, don't we, boys? A little bit like us in the heyday. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You get price alerts, reoccurring buys, and they have a demo mode so you can have a hit before you start investing. Download SwyftX today. That is SWYFTX. For those of you who are listening or watching at home, it's cryptocurrency trading made, enjoyable. A bit like the Fast Bowling Cartel podcast.
Very good, Flem. That's brilliant. They've come on.
Love it.
SwyftX. You, Flem, you love your crypto, don't you? You'd be dabbling a bit there if you stashed away.
Mate, I'm a true all-rounder. Averaged 25 with the ball, 19 with the bat. Actually, our old mate, Damien Marto likes dabbling in that stuff, so I am well acquainted with that stuff. So g'day to Marto up in the Gold Coast.
Brilliant.
Let's get into this build-up on Friday. The two guys I just wanted to talk about first, how will Jake Weatherald and Brendan Doggett be feeling, boys? Do you remember your thoughts going into your first Ashes series?
Yeah, a little bit nervous. I guess it was a little bit different for me because I played 6 first-class games and playing my first Test match. It all happened so quickly. I was loving everything to do with first-class cricket. I just loved it. Next, here I am preparing for my first Test match. So, to be honest, I wasn't too nervous. It was like I didn't have time to be nervous and went into it. And, I remember standing next to Craig McDermott when captains were going out to toss, and he asked me if I was nervous. And the funny thing was I wasn't.
Wow.
And he said, don't worry, that'll get worse. And I didn't quite understand what he meant. But the more games you played, the more success you had, the more success you wanted. So you keep raising that bar. And he was very true that getting yourself up, never called it nerves. It was more that anticipation, getting yourself up and getting yourself ready. But I didn't have a huge build up. There was, I found out next day I'm on a plane and over there and picked up a wicket early, which always settles the nerves nicely.
Yeah. What about you, Diz?
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough. 97 Ashes tour was my first tour. It was fantastic. We actually lost the first Test match, and I got injured in that match. I did my hamstring. Michael Bevan came out as my runner and ran me out. So I wasn't happy with that. And Nasser got a double 100, and so
it wasn't good, was it?
No, and all the English were saying, "Oh, the Ashes are coming home. The Ashes are coming home," and then we got our mojo and went from there, and we ended up winning that series 3-2, I think, in the end, because we lost the final one at the Oval. But yeah, great memories. Much like Pidge, anticipation, excitement. I'd been fortunate enough. I'd made my debut against the West Indies, and we went to South Africa. So I'd played a few Test matches beforehand, but yeah, just to play against the English was something that I'd dreamed of, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and
my first Ashes Test match, I touched on it where I got done for. So I felt pretty ordinary at the end of it. But I think, didn't you sent me a little present saying thank you, because you were playing the next Test. So I thought that was nice of you, Flem. So thanks, mate.
Actually, I watched highlights of that Test. And in hindsight, we loved. They went with 2 spinners, which Bob Simpson and that liked, and it worked in '93. But in hindsight, we probably should have played us 3 quicks, Pidge, shouldn't we? Like Billy McDermott was on fire, and we both should have played together throughout that series. But I remember, Pidge, too, just how much bigger it was than anything I'd ever, because of all the English press. We were doing more functions with England. And I remember Graham Gooch was about 40. He kept falling asleep because he trained that hard, Gucci, during the day.
Yep.
He was cooked at these dinners. So I remember just thinking, their captain is falling asleep. How is this going here? And then even how many bats we used to have to sign. And that's where I developed watching Tim May, who's basically, his Tim May was like a Chinese H, wasn't it? It was just, it looked like one letter. But watching Craig McDermott, who we've talked about before, how pedantic and neat he was, and he almost had the yips when he signed, Billy. He had to tap the bat about 5 times before every signature. But when you're doing 500 bats, so I started after Billy, and I reckon I finished, and he still had at least half the bats to go. So I remember, Billy, he had to tap it 5 times, and then... then sign it there. And then the other big thing, I remember that Test, I was 12th man, but loved it because I was rooming with Steve Waugh, but his wife Lynette come up, and back then the player had to pay for the room if you brought your wife or partner up. So then I've got a single room as 12th man, and back then it was sort of don't be home too early, was it? And the 12th man of England was Craig White, who was Australian, who I'd played all underage cricket with. And then that the one I remember of that Test is, Warney's brilliant bowling and McDermott. and Slats hitting those 2 4s off Daffy to just, you could feel like, I think it was 10 off the first over that England felt, here we go again. Day 5, though, Pidge, early, we're looking to declare, and junior Mark Ward tries a reverse sweep sort of paddle because Tufnell was bowling outside leg stump, and you could see he was boring junior, who's an entertainer. And he paddles it onto his stumps, right? And back then it was just like, what was that? And I remember Steve Waugh was next in, and I heard him, how tough Tugger was, friggin' what sort of shot's that in a test match? And, he gets out there. And you know how unflappable Tubby is as captain. You know he's not happy, though. He doesn't go out and say anything, but you can see he's fuming as he walks. And I think it was you, me, and Warnie Pidge, who up the back, you sort of try not to laugh. If someone laughs, everyone laughs. But, there's a real hostile air in the dressing rooms. Tubby's going to give Junior a spray, and Junior doesn't know what's coming. So he walks in, and before Tubby can say anything, they show the replay, and Junior looks at us and goes, "Oh, how unlucky am I?" Right? Right. Which diffuses everything. We start laughing, and Tubby knows he can't spray him now, but Tubby still goes, "Hey, Junior, have you ever played a reverse sweep in a game before?" And Junior goes, "No." He goes, "What about in a game?" And he goes, "No." And Tubby goes, "Do you reckon that's a high percentage game in a test match?" And he just looks at Tubby, goes, "What? Sorry, I could bore them to death like you're batting, Tubby. I'm an entertainer."
Well,
so
that was Junior for you.
To be on the defensive. Do you remember that pitch?
Yeah. Tub was going to give him a spray in the end. He copped the spray. But that was Junior, wasn't it? That's what I loved about Mark Waugh. Junior, he was only ever out one of 2 ways. Good ball or bad shot. He just kept it very simple. And that one there, never practiced it, never ever played it before. Thought I'd give it a go, and just dragged it straight from about 1.5 foot outside leg stump back on a middle stump. So, yeah, it's it was before his time, Junior, wasn't he, with the reverse sweep?
So,
but there's one thing I want to add to that. You were talking about your signature, Flem. I have to say, your signature is rubbish. Like, it is rubbish. I've seen you pick up a pen and wiggle in the fingers like that while you're signing something. And your signature actually looks better when you do it that way than the other way. So that my bit of advice, you can probably work a bit harder. Diz, mate, nice. You've got the ball. You can see who it is.
Yeah, but Flemmo's looks like it looks like Don Fling. It's so abbreviated, isn't it?
Well,
it's not as bad as Maisie's, but it's pretty ordinary, yeah.
The Vics call me Don Ling. They reckon it looks like Don Ling, so they call me Don. Hey, one of the things I wanted to talk about too, and it's significant. I said last podcast that England have only won once in Perth, Wacker and Perth Stadium combined, and that was with a weakened Australian team. How do you rate the way that Perth Stadium pitch is played? For me, we were worried we're going to lose the characteristics of the Wacker, but I think pretty much it's almost like for like, and opposition teams. I know a Boomer-inspired spell last year got India a win, but generally it's still a fortress for Australia. And with Bazball playing shots, it is a pitch where you need to leave the ball and hit the bad one going away. It could be the undoing of Bazball in this first test with the pace and bounce at Perth Stadium.
Yeah, I like the fact that it's got characteristics of that Perth wicket, of that Wacker wicket. For a long time, the Wacker wicket lost its quick, bouncy pace but you go over to the nets had it. Like, it's still the same soil. So I think they brought a little bit of that soil from the nets out to the middle of the Wacker, but they've also brought that soil over to Perth Stadium. So, yeah, the ball will carry through. And like you said, if you're playing it like someone like Ben Duckett, who does not want to leave a ball, you're going to get that one that jumps off a length, hits high, takes the shoulder of the bat. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes. Someone like Harry Brook that just takes a short ball on all the time. He's going to get plenty of opportunities there. So I'll be I'm keen to see if they've adapted Bazball or whether they're just going to keep it the same as it's always been and see how they go. But, yeah, on a quicker, bouncier pitch, leaving the ball is what it's about too.
Yeah, and further to that, Pidgey, I agree with that. I think that the difference between, for me, the Perth Stadium and the Wacker is the sideways movement. I don't ever remember the Wacker offering quite as much sideways movement off the surface as the Perth Stadium does. So I think it does make it quite tricky. I think that the bounce and carry is relatively similar from what I've seen, but it's just that little bit of extra sideways movement. Is it a little bit of extra grass that they leave on these drop-in pitches that would allow that to happen? That's my observation. I think it can be a tricky surface. And I probably expect both teams would look to have a bowl first come Friday.
Yeah, actually, that'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, the other thing too, Flem, is selection. Talking to the guys that played last year, they said the spinners were nearly taken out of the game because of the pitch. It was tough work with the quick. As soon as the spinners come on, the batsmen just, their eyes lit up and it was a completely different game. I wonder whether that's in the back of the selector's mind. Do we play Nathan Lyon on this pitch if it's going to carry through and offer nothing for the spinners? And maybe then does Bo Webster come in, Diz, and Flem an opportunity there. So that's just talking to a few of the Australian batsmen last year. They said when the spinners came on, it was just easy pickings.
Yeah, but for me, I think that's an opportunity for Australia. Nathan Lyon missed the last test in Jamaica, so they're not afraid to make that call. But the most dominant bowler at Perth Stadium in 5 test matches is Nathan Lyon. 29 wickets at about 20. If England try to take him down, that brings him into the game. You mentioned, Diz, it's a big ground. So taking on spinners, you can have in and out fields. And England don't have that option, do they? It looks like Root will provide that off spin. So I'm going the other way. I think it's an advantage to have Nathan Lyon just because of his record here at Perth Stadium.
Yeah, further to that, Flem and Pidge, I personally like to have a spinner in the side. I think having 5 seam bowl, if you can't take 20 wickets with 4 seamers, you're not doing it with 5. And I think the variety of spin, the numbers you just mentioned, Flem, 29 wickets at 20 with Nathan Lyon. Nathan Lyon's got over 500 test wickets. I mean, this guy's, I know Pidge doesn't want him to play because he'll go past him in Perth potentially on the all-time wicket-taking list. But all jokes aside, I just like the balance of having a spinner in the lineup. The only way I think Webster plays is if they do decide that spin is not going to play a role and they can lengthen their batting, plain and simple.
Yeah, and just talking, Big Hoff was interviewed a couple of days ago, even though he's not playing. He said, at Perth Stadium, he and Cummins have made a conscious decision to try and get into that 5.5 metre length away from the bat, as opposed to 6 to 8, which is like a good length. That they've made a conscious effort to bowl fuller and they've been rewarded by that. So it'll be interesting if the England quicks can adjust to that. Just on the English quicks, Diz, will it be Archer, Atkinson, Carson, Tongue? Is that the way you think it'll go?
I think so. Yeah, look, I think potentially. I think that last position, it potentially is out of Tongue and Potts, yeah. The only thing is, do they want to play Archer and Wood in the same 11, knowing that they're both obviously similar in terms of airspeed? Will they be concerned that both of them have had precious little first-class cricket over the last while? Wood's had injuries. I mean, Jofra Archer's averaged 4 to 5 first-class games a year for the last 10 years. So he doesn't have a lot of first-class cricket behind him, and he's played 4 tests in the last 4 years. So I just wonder if someone like Potts comes into the frame. He's got a good motor, bowls long penetrating spells. Does he come into the thing? I think Bryden Cass is going to be one for the Australians to watch. He's a bit quicker than you think.
Bouncy.
And yeah, he's bouncy, he's tall, runs in, hits the rope hard. He could do all right out here in Australia.
Well, one of the players I want to talk about from England, and there's been a lot of conjecture about it, is Joe Root. And whether he'll get 100 out here. He's averaging 35. Under Bazball, he's been brilliant, averaging 58 with 1400s, but the strike rate of 67, which he wasn't doing early in his career. I saw an article from CricViz, and they lead down to that it is the pace and bounce that England in Australia that troubles Root. So generally through his career, he averages about 100 with the cut and late cut with short balls. In Australia, it goes down to 41, and most of his dismissals here, particularly early on, are caught behind the wicket with the odd bowled from Pat Cummins. You know, I see this as if he can break the duck of hundreds and be the leading scorer, you know, that is going to go a long way to England being competitive in this series, if not winning, because then the Brooks and the Smith, they can just play their shots there. But he's going to have to do what he's never done before, and that's dominate an Ashes series in Australia.
Yeah, you're right there, Flem. It's that's a final frontier for him, I guess you could say. And I think Bazball suits him really well because he doesn't come out and just go hard. He just plays his normal game, and because they're going so hard at the other end, the bowlers are trying a few more different things, which allows him to sort of work the ball and get more singles and twos and the odd boundary. So, yeah, I think Bazball is perfect for him because he doesn't really have to change his game. He sort of tries to hold up one end, and the scoreboard continually ticks over. So it's going to be a big series for him. If the other players around him can keep the scoreboard ticking over, and there's no pressure on him, we'll wait and see if he's adapted to those quicker, bouncier conditions. We saw Sachin Tendulkar at Sydney one time. He kept getting out playing that cover drive, so he just put it away. Yeah. And he got, what did he get, a 200? Joe Root, can he put that sort of looking to run it down a third man on quicker pitches? Who knows? That see if he can adapt to that.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, Pidge. That's been his Achilles heel on faster, bouncier surfaces, because in the UK and on lower, slow decks, he can play the ball under his eyes, play it late and run it down to that vacant third man. You can't do that necessarily in Australia on the faster, bouncier wickets. You're a real risk at nicking off on those. So I agree with you, Pidge. I think if he can find a way to just absorb some good bowling, leave them alone, and look to score through the offside, either with the very full deliveries, the half volleys, or play with the horizontal bat and play the cut shots, and anything in between, just leave them alone. I think that's his recipe for success.
What about the captains, boys? Ben Stokes with Brendan McCullum have been, the major driving force behind Bazball. I watched Ben Stokes' bowling against India over in England this year. Like he was back. He's a gifted bowler. He swings the ball both ways, got a really good bouncer. He bowled a fair bit in that trial game. How significant will his contributions? I don't expect him to average 50 with the bat, but he could play 2 match-winning innings for the series. And then also Stephen Smith, who's the sub-captain for this test match. And we're hearing Pat Cummins yesterday bowled at full tilt in the nets. So I'm expecting him back in for the second test, excellent, which will be great. But just on Stokes, your thoughts? And then also Stephen Smith, who's just come straight from New York, averaging over 100 for New South Wales. He looks like he's in for a massive series.
Yeah, no, they're going to be 2 big series. Ben Stokes, he's one of those captains that wants to lead from the front. And he's just a competitor, isn't he? The fact that he and Baz have both got New Zealand birth certificates, I don't think is really going to play a big part here. But with Stokes here, it's more how his body holds up. I know he's had problems with his knees and with a couple of injuries, because when he bowls, he doesn't hold back. He gives everything. And he wants to bowl all day. So see how his body holds up, but he's a competitor, isn't he? There's no doubt about that. And he leads from the front. And, even with the comments he's made to date, he's backing the team, and he's he's prepared to cop a few. Steve Smith, I think Smudge is going to love being captain again. I think his stats when he's captain have always been really good. So to get him back on the helm, even if it's only for one test, I think he'll really enjoy. And, he's been in form, and he has a history against England when he's in form, and scores plenty of runs. They don't know where to bowl to him or what fields to set sometimes. So it's going to be a good series. I think he's up for a big one this first test.
Yeah, most certainly. And Stokesy's just removed the fear of failure. Him and McCullum removed the fear of failure in that England camp. And that's, I suppose, very freeing for their players. I agree with Pidge. I think Steve Smith's relishing this opportunity to captain Australia. How many games that's going to be for? Who knows? It could literally just be this first test. But one would suspect that the Australian selectors and Andrew McDonald will be, treading carefully with Captain Pat, and will he play every test match? We don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But all signs are looking good for the day-night test in Brisbane.
And Diz, what about the significance of Brendan Doggett, the third Indigenous player for Australia? You were the first, Scotty Boland second, and how significant for the fast bowling cartel?
It's very significant.
Indigenous Test cricketers.
We are. How good is it? Look, it's a big moment in Australian Test cricket. There's potential to have two of the starting 11 of Indigenous descent. That's a pretty big thing in our history of Test cricket. So, look, everyone's very excited. Make no mistake, Brendan Doggett deserves this opportunity. He's performed well. He helped South Australia break a 29-year Shield drought in March, winning the Sheffield Shield, took 11 wickets in that match. He's been in and around the squads over the winter tours for Australia. So he's obviously on the radar of the Australian selectors. And then he's backed it up this season for South Australia. He's put some really strong performances on the board in the Shield. Now, confidence comes from evidence, and the evidence is he's performed well over a period of time. And if he gets that opportunity in Perth, he can look to all those good performances knowing that he's got the runs on the board, and wickets on the board, I should say, and he's ready to go, and he'll be able to grab that opportunity with both hands. So very exciting for the FBC to have another debutant. We love it. And just really proud of Brendan for all the hard work. He's been an unconventional way into international cricket. He didn't come through the pathways of Queensland cricket. He was a chippy up until his early to mid 20s. So still working. So look, I think hats off to him. He deserves all the success in the world.
Would he be your favourite fast bowling cartel carpenter in the history
absolutely.
of Test cricket?
As far as I'm aware, he's could be one of the only. I don't know many carpenters.
Where do you put Paul Rifle? Where do you put Paul Rifle then?
Paul Rifle's up there. See, I didn't know he was a chippy.
See, I know that you didn't know, which made me know that you didn't know, so I said Paul Rifle.
All right, so you set me up to fail.
No worries.
I'm unbasball. Call me unbasball.
Hey, I thought we were mates.
A little bit of trivia there. When I left school, I did a pre-apprenticeship course in carpentry. I did my first year pre-apprenticeship, and while looking for a sponsor as an apprenticeship, I played a game of cricket and got asked to move to Sydney. So I was looking to become a chippy. So I don't know if that carries any weight, but probably not. But,
none.
Anyway,
none at all.
I wouldn't want to be in I wouldn't want to be in a carpentry TAFE room with you. You are potentially dangerous in that environment.
Yes.
Never a dull moment. You've got to have a bit of fun. I've still got all fingers and appendages, so it's all good.
Yeah, what you would. We'd be in hospital every week with you throwing stuff and trying to hurt us.
No. I reckon the nail gun would be a good tool to use quite a bit.
We're moving on. McGrath and nail gun. Hey, we're going to go some rapid Ashes questions. All right, so just go for it. And I'm going to go for you first, Pidge, to Diz, to me, okay? Player of the series, Diz. Pidge.
Player of the series? I'm going to go I'm going to go Steve Smith. No, Marnus Labuschagne. There we go. I think Marnus is going to have a big series.
Good.
Travis Head for me. I think coming in at 5, our top 4, the Australian top 4 will do the work and get through those first 40 to 50 overs. Travis Head will come in and really put pressure on the England bowlers, and he's going to have a cracking series.
Well, I'm going to look after the fast bowling cartel. I'm going Scott Boland. Big bolo. Who will hit the first century?
Oh, actually, Flem.
Yep.
Flem. I think it's very... I'm a little concerned that Diz and I both went batsman. I need to have a reprimand myself there. I'm going to change it to Mitchell Starc. Starkey is going to... That new ball, he's going to take early wickets. So Marnus is going to go okay, but Starkey's just going to pick him at the post.
Peer pressure, Pidge. Peer pressure.
Yeah,
got to you.
I know.
Pidge, give me
from myself.
spell.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry, douche. Who's going to hit the first century for either team? Pidge?
I'll go Marnus for that one.
Yep.
I'm going to go Jake Weatherald, debutant.
Ooh.
Debutant, 100 on debut in WA. Admittedly, he's played first-class cricket against Western Australia at the Wacker. He's got an excellent record on the fast, bouncy surface, so I'm backing him in.
Oh, that would be awesome on debut. I will go, I'll go boring. I'll go Stephen Smith. What about for England, boys? Oh, will they get 100?
No.
Yep.
No hundreds.
Des?
I'm actually gonna go Joe Root. I think he has learnt his lessons of previous tours here, and he'll find his mojo. And I suspect he'll break that drought of the hundreds in Australia.
I'll go Harry Brook. I'm not sure which way it'll go there. I could see the Australians really target him and him having a really a shocker, or the other one. He gets going. I think the big grounds will be a test. You know, he's almost a compulsive hooker. You know, can he hook them for 6 at Optus Stadium and the MCG and at the Gabba? But if he does, if him and Travis Head get going at times, it's just going to be absolutely exhilarating. What about fifers? Who's going to get the first fifer for both teams?
Mitchell Starc for the Aussies, and I reckon Woody. If Mark Wood, if he can stay out there long enough, I'll put him down for 5.
Des?
Yeah, I'm going to go Scotty Boland, first fifer, and I'm going to go Bryden Cass for England.
I'll go Bolo and I'll go Atkinson, the fast medium bowler. Will Joe Root score 100 this summer? You've already answered it, Diz. Pidge?
Well, I said no English batsman will get 100, so I think I may have answered it as well.
Okay. I'll go no. We'll edit that out, that look. What about this is really general. You can go whatever you want. The surprise packet of the summer. Player, scenario, surprise packet of the summer.
I think Brendan Doggett. I think he'll get an opportunity. I think he's been around the team for a long time, hasn't got a Guernsey yet. I reckon this is his chance.
Yeah, I'm going to go Doggett as well. I think he's a chance to really have an impact. He bowls a little bit fuller than most seamers in Australia. He looks to swing the ball away from the right-handers into the left-handers. And, you know, if he gets that right, he bowls with good airspeed, he could have a real impact.
I'll go Cameron Green, average over 50.
Oh, I love it.
Finally having a big summer with the bat in Australian conditions.
So batting 6, averaging 50?
Yep. I don't even know, has he got a test 100 in Australia yet? I don't think so. So I'll say average 50 and scoring 100 in Australia.
Love it.
We've done the series predictor. What about the biggest headline after the first test?
Well, I'll go.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned Weatherald's going to get 100 in his first test at Perth Stadium, and it'll be something like Jake weathers the storm.
Yes, like it. I'll go fizz ball. That the Australians will thrash England, so not Bazball, it's fizz ball.
Love it.
The bounce and pace. Australia go 1-0 up, but I'm not counting England out in different conditions. Pigeon.
Yeah. No, I think Australia wins by an innings in 3 days. So it's going to be a dominant performance.
Okay. So that was it. Also, we've got time now for one of our most popular, because it's the first time we're doing it. It's the Cartel Ashes Quiz. I'm going to ask you questions. Your buzzers are your nicknames. So can we just check your buzzers, please?
Dizzy.
Pidge.
Beautiful.
Millard. Which one do you want?
Actually, if you could mix it up, I'd love that. Okay, first question. First in gets the thing. Name every fast bowler with 40 wickets in an Ashes series.
Dizzy.
Yes, Diz.
Terry Alderman.
How many are there?
There's two.
Two.
One.
Is it Dennis Lilly?
Pidge.
Incorrect.
Hogg, 42 wickets
yes.
at 12 points.
That's right.
Haven't you heard his story?
Yes, I have. I just slipped my mind.
Question 2. Who were Darren Goff's hat-trick victims in Sydney in 1999 Test? I'll give you a clue. There's three of them.
Pidge. I'm trying to think who the first one is. I know there wasn't one Funky Miller and one Stuart McGill.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who the first one was.
Third one.
He wasn't a top order batsman. That's a clue.
No. Wasn't Warney.
No.
Heels.
Correct. Pigeon 2-0.
Well done, Pidge.
In Gillespie's, that's what I put there. Wickets at Headingley 1997. Which two batters did he remove in consecutive deliveries?
Jeez, I should know this.
I know. I'm just picturing number 11 playing a forward defence.
No,
missing it by a foot and a half and losing his leg stump.
Go, Diz.
Dizzy.
What was his name?
Was it Goffey and Mike Smith?
I'm pretty sure it is. Well done.
Well done.
Okay, question 4. There's only 6 because we want like 6 deliveries like an over.
I like that.
And there's no balls.
No, well, if we get even, I'm going to have to create a question. Only Australian bowler to hit 155 kilometres in an Ashes Test. So this is official tracking. So it's of our generation. Yes, Diz.
Sean Tate.
Incorrect.
Pidge.
Close.
Well, there's only 2, really.
Yeah.
Well, is it? Well, it's got to be Binger then, Brett Lee.
I don't think officially.
No, Mitchell Stark then.
No. So this is Mitchell Johnson at the Wacker.
Of course.
Yeah.
There you
Okay,
go.
that is
Diz
a
and I
no
were just a little below that 155.
below that, weren't we?
and me even more. Okay.
No.
Okay. Which left-hander, between the 3 of us in Ashes Test matches, right? In Test cricket, which left-hander did we dismiss the most? 3 options. Marcus Trescothick, Mark Butcher, or Graham Thorpe?
Dizzy.
Between the 3. Yes, Diz.
Trescothick.
Incorrect.
Pidge.
Yes, Pidge.
Thorpe.
Incorrect. We've had another no
Pidge.
ball.
Butcher. Mark Butcher.
So we all 3 of us got poor Butch out 17 times.
Oh, wow.
I can't believe we don't forget that.
But he still got that 100 at Headingley to win that.
That was a fantastic knock, to be fair to him. That was a ripper.
Yeah.
I must admit,
I don't want to give him too much credit, but it wasn't bad.
I wish I'd played that test because it swung at Headingley. And I used to
You
get
would have knocked
Butch
him
out a
over for
lot.
nothing.
Trescothick 13 and Thorpe 7 times. Last one, and this could be, I think you're 2 and Pidge and Dizzy 1. That's us. 256 Ashes wickets. Who took the most caught behinds, Ian Healy or Adam Gilchrist?
Pidge.
Yes, Pidge.
Gilly.
Correct. 35, Ian Healy 28. The winner of the Cartel Quiz is the big man, Pidge, 3-1.
Well,
Do
well
some
done,
research.
Pidgey.
There's-
Too good. Too good. Yeah, I need to brush up.
Okay, now, I always get a bit nervous introducing this segment because since it's been introduced, cricketers all around the world are getting a little bit scared. They don't want to say too much. They don't want to contradict themselves. They don't want to be too outlandish because if they are out of line, this man will be straight onto them with "Give me a spell" segment. Take it away, Diz.
Yeah, thanks, Flem. And I'm actually excited to make an announcement, boys. We're excited to have VB, Victoria Bitter, jumping on board this summer for the Give Me a Spell segment.
Oh, yeah.
How good is that?
Happy days.
Now, Victoria Bitter, they've printed its laws of cricket on the cans this summer to remind the Poms about the basics of the game
This is
and
good.
save them from more embarrassing blunders. So the laws of cricket cans
Oh, yeah.
feature 5 rules. The run out, faking injury, frivolous
injury.
delays, the 2-minute rule, and appeals. So these cans, boys, they're going to be available in all Liquorland stores across Australia while stocks last. How
They
good
are
is that? How
selling
great
out.
is it to have VB, Victoria Bitter, sponsoring the
days.
fast bowling cartel?
Cricket and VB in the day, and now with that announcement, just go together beautifully. It is like a caught behind. It's a great combination.
Yep, it
And
really is. It's fantastic.
And the English could do worse than have a couple to read the bloody rules.
Yeah, absolutely. Which and this announcement actually segues in beautifully to my first one, the Barmy Army. They created a song, boys, would you believe, referencing the Bairstow stumping by Alex Carey. I say, let it go, lads. Give me a spell. Read the laws. You created them. Give me a spell.
And maybe, the Barmy Army, buy a slab of VB and read the rules again.
Absolutely. Just to remind yourself, you can get them from all good Liquorland stores.
Like it is.
Right. Another one I've got. Now, I have a feeling this guy, it could be a regular occurrence this summer, appearing on Give Me a Spell. Our great mate, Michael Vaughan.
Oh, no.
You know what he's done, boys?
No.
He's tweeting stats and claiming them as his own.
Oh,
This is
no.
in reference to the age profile of the Australian side compared to the English side. And I think it was something along the lines, if you added David Gower and Surian Botham into the English camp, they'd still have a younger age profile than Australia. But he stole these. He didn't come up with this on his own. Get your own stats, Vaughnie. Do your own research. Give me a spell.
Wasn't it Swampy from Channel 7, the stats guy that
was
come out
indeed.
with that? And
It
like what
was.
I did at the start, you've got to reference where you get that
you
stuff.
do. You
No,
do.
give me a
I liked
spell,
what you
Vaughnie.
did there at the start. I liked what you did at the start there. You referenced Rick Finlay.
Yeah, but
That was very good.
That's not out of the blue. That's just what you do. That's common
Yeah.
etiquette. No,
That's
give me a spell.
Common courtesy. My final one, boys. Now, we saw the recent match that finished at Eden Gardens, Kolkata. India versus South Africa. A very low-scoring game.
Horrible.
Bit of discussion, a debate about the surface. There's discussion about coaches and captains instructing curators on how to prepare surfaces for home advantage. What? Give me a
No.
spell. That home advantage is just that. You get to play at home. That's your advantage. You're not having to travel. Mate, I don't see many curators coming up to the coaches and telling them how to run a net session. I don't see them sitting in team meetings. Coaches, leave the curators to do their job. Give me a spell. Dizzy
Very
out.
good, Diz. Very good.
Gold.
Now, I'd like to comment on a few of those ones, Diz, and just add a bit more.
Yes, Pidgey.
I was reading the article with the one India, South Africa, and Gautam Gambhir, what's he?
Coach.
Coach, selector, the works, he was saying he got the pitch he asked for from the curator. He came out, he didn't try to sugarcoat it. He said, this is what I asked for. And then he turned around and said, they shouldn't be able to score runs. They've just got to put their head down a bit. So he blamed the batsman rather than the pitch going up and down, because he said he was happy with the pitch that was served up. So, give him credit. He didn't try to sugarcoat it. He came out and took full control. So there's that one. In respects to the run out, with Carey, it was funny. I was at Lord's that day commentating, and I asked all the selectors, Michael Vaughan, McGrath, the works, all the English ex-players, and every person to a man said out. Didn't even think about Kevin Peterson. It's just out.
Athers.
Now, if that's a spinner bowling that last ball and Bairstow just wanders out and it's stumped, we wouldn't have been talking about it.
Correct.
So, yeah, I agree. Get over it. So give me a spell, Diz. Happy days there. And then, Vaughanie, you've got to put down where you got it from. Flam, very good. And on that, I caught up with a guy who's up on holidays here at the moment, caught up for a coffee yesterday in Rick Finlay and his wife Margaret. They were up in Noosa having a bit of a holiday at Maroochydore. They come up a couple of times here. So caught up with the great stats man.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And he was, even on holidays, he's still hard at work putting all the stats in, the South African. He was, he just loves it.
It's not a job, it's a lifestyle for Rick, isn't it?
Yeah, without a doubt.
It's a lifestyle. Diz, that was fantastic, and thanks for
VB
for getting involved as well. Just to finish us off here, we did the top 5 Australian fast bowling Ashes Quick since 1970. I think we need to do the English one. It was funny enough, and maybe to a degree, Australia's probably been more dominant, in that 55-year period. That not many of the English quicks had taken over 50 wickets. But Diz, do you want to start us off? Did you use your metrics for this again?
Yes, Fleb, thank you. And look, I did my research and I did a deep dive. And yes, I look, as I've said, I like to keep it. You guys look at gut feel, impact on series or games, which are great metrics. I just thought, just to be different, I'll look at it purely from a statistical point of view. And it's come up with some interesting numbers, combining strike rates, economy rates, averages. I've come up with my top 5. I've got a couple of honourable mentions.
Yeah.
Simon Jones played that iconic 2005 Ashes series, but he only played 5 Ashes tests, which were those 5 matches. But he did get 19 wickets at 21, but his strike rate, boys, would you believe, was 34.4, which is incredible. Incredible strike rate. Just shows what an impact he had on that series against us. But my criteria, I thought, I looked at number of wickets or whatever, but I went with 15 games. I was consistent with, so I've gone that. So without further ado, my number 5, the 5th player is Darren Goff. Highlight for me there, he's got the best strike rate of all the English fast bowlers. So other than obviously I just mentioned Simon Jones, but yeah, Darren Goff, 52.8 as a strike rate.
Wow.
Number 4, I've gone a guy who's got 153 wickets from 40 Ashes tests, and that's Stuart Broad. Average 28, strike rate, very good, 54.4. Number 3, I've gone another one who's got a lot of Ashes wickets, Sir Ian Botham, 148 wickets, strike rate of 57, average 27. Number 2, one of my favourite bowlers to imitate in the nets, the late, great, bustling Bob Willis. Wonderful bowler.
Great man.
128 wickets from 35 Ashes tests with a very good average of 26. And a lower economy rate. But the number 1, boys, for me, this one might surprise you a little bit, but I've gone, he just satisfied the criteria, 15 tests, 66 wickets at 24. The great Dennis Lilly's hero when he was younger, John Snow.
Correct.
Averaged 24 with the ball, strike rate of 58, economy rate quite low of 2.5. So I've gone Jon Snow as my number one.
Yeah, Dennis, a big fan, wasn't he, of Jon Snow?
Huge fan of Jon Snow, yeah.
Pidgey,
So that's my top 5, boys.
No, I like it.
Random there, Diz. He apparently was very good in the cold as well.
Badumch.
Hey. How is your stand-up career going, Pidge? Pidgey, take us through your top 5, mate.
Yeah, top 5. The first thing I say, I looked through the top 30 wicket takers in Ashes cricket, and 20 of them are Australian.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a massive difference, and the averages are quite a contrast as well, which I thought was quite unique considering the Duke ball. But I do think it's easier to go from bowling the Cooker ball to bowling the Duke than to bowl the Duke and come and bowl with the Kookaburra. Sure. So we'll see how the guys go. So I probably a little bit more gut feel as well. I looked at the stats, and the stats weren't they weren't overly flattering. So I'm going to throw, Jimmy Anderson in there at number 5. Jimmy, I think he got better as his career went on in the Ashes. He's only young when he started. I think he struggled with the Cooker for a while. But I think towards the end started to get a little bit better. So I'm put Jimmy, what's he got? The most wickets by a fast bowler in the history of the game.
Respect.
Something like 188 test matches in itself is unbelievable. So I threw Jimmy in at number 5. Darren Gough, number 4. Only played 17 tests, as you said, Diz. But just that impact, he loved the big stage and sort of that aggression that he showed, and he enjoyed it. So he's my number 4. Number 3, I've thrown, Bobby Willis in there. You remember, Bobby, that unwinnable test match where he and both of them scored the runs, and then Bobby just tore in like a man possessed.
8 for 43. Yeah.
Yes.
Unbelievable. So, Bobby Willis, 128 wickets from the 35 tests. Now, I struggled. My 1 and 2, they could be the other way around, but I put Stuart Broad in at number 2. Broady, the leading wicket taker in Ashes series for an English bowler, 153 from 40 tests. The man that all Australians love to hate. I think he winds them up every chance he gets. So he's coming out this summer as well. So we'll see Broady quite a bit. And my number 1 is Lord Ian Botham. Beefy. When you look at his stats for an all-rounder, to take 148 Test wickets, Ashes wickets from 36 games, that's nearly the most by an English bowlers. So I put him in at number 1.
It's a good top 5, Pidge.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I there's no surprise. It's just the order for me. It was interesting. If I pick my top 5 English bowlers who I admired, Jimmy Anderson would be maybe 1 or 2. But it's interesting looking at his Ashes record. It's not fantastic. 1 good series out here and 1 at home. So number 5 is dazzling Dazza Gough. That first series, Pidge, 94-95, it was almost like the fast bowling English version of Warney. He had so much charisma, fast outswingers. He knocked me over first ball with an innie in Sydney. It was fast, could bowl naturally reverse with that slinging action. Good bouncer. Charismatic. He wasn't afraid to refer to himself in the third person, Eva Goffey, which we love.
And very competitive as well, Flem, wasn't he?
Yeah, and at times I think he struggled with a backup bowler. Like Ando and Broady always had each other. But that 6 for Sydney was brilliant, and he smashed 50 against us as well, that test match. But his batting sort of dropped off in the end. Number 4 would have been higher if I could have added in all his Ashes, but I'm with you, Diz, Jon Snow. When Dennis Lilly, our idol, says that was his idol, 79 wickets at 26. He got 7 for 40 in a Sydney Test match. He was fast, hostile, nasty. He actually hit a few. Terry Jenner knocked him out at the SCG. Ian Chappell, one of the few bowlers, Ian Chappell said, he'd put away the hook shot. And Ian was known as one of our best short ball hookers and pullers that we've seen. So I'd love to have seen him live, Jon Snow. Number 3-2-1 like you, Pidge. Oh, they could have rotated. I've gone the lordship to Ian Botham. That record's got to be respected. 148 wickets, a 6 for at the whacker. He got a 5 for 1 in one spell in 81 to knock him over. Great outswingers. And even in 1985, he all of a sudden started bowling fast. He bowled with genuine heat throughout that series. Number 2, Bobby Willis. Who can ever forget that 8 for at Headingley? He wasn't even going to get a game. It was only that Mike Brearley, he wasn't in the squad. And I think Mike Brearley rang him, are you fit? So Brearley had to talk the selectors into playing him.
Wow.
But as you said, in the backyard, if you're doing Dennis Lilly, you're doing Tomo, you're doing Max Walker, you had to do Bobby Willis, didn't
Correct.
you?
Absolutely.
But fast, ugly bounce, dismiss Greg Chappell a lot. And number 1, Stuart Broad. I love his record home and away. Also, I loved his ability to upskill. Even in that last Ashes series, he thought Smith and Labuschagne would be vulnerable to outswingers. So he worked on an outie and he got them out with outswingers. And then he was one of the first to try that wobbled seam around the wicket. Dave Warner just could not combat him in English conditions. So that's me, Stuart Broad at number 1.
Yep. No, that's a great top 5 for him as well. So well done.
Well, boys, that stumps for another episode. Next time we're chatting, we'll be doing it after day
exciting.
For a wrap. Hopefully the Aussie's going well. So make sure to the listeners and the viewers on YouTube, we'll be doing a daily wrap, us 3 or at least 2 of us at a time. Make sure you like and subscribe. But gentlemen, just to finish it off, we need the DK salute.
See you, boys.
And for me, go Aussies.